good morning, afternoon, or evening to everybody here at this webinar today. On behalf of USAID and Resilience Links, I welcome you to our theme-month webinar, Towards Urban Resilience in Somalia, Perspectives from Local Government and Communities. I'm Catherine Doyle with Resilience Links. So before we begin, let me orient you to the Zoom platform. On the bottom of the screen, you'll see most of your controls. Please use the chat to introduce yourself and tell us where you are joining us from. And to ask questions throughout the webinar, please use the Q&A button. We are recording this webinar and we will email you the post-event resources following the event. And you can also find the resources on resiliencelinks.org. Next slide, please. So today's agenda, after we hear some opening remarks, we will get to hear from several moderated panels in this panel discussion. And then we will be opening the floor to take questions from the audience and then hear the closing remarks. Next slide, please. So again, thank you very, very much for your attendance. We are really excited about this webinar and to hear the speakers today. Before we get to those opening remarks, I'll now pass it to Michael Kuntz, Senior Knowledge Management Advisor and USAID's Bureau for Resilience and Food Security, for a few words on Resilience Links and the theme month. Over to you, Michael.
Hey, thank you, Catherine, and thanks to the entire Resilience Links team for organizing this webinar to share lessons learned and good practices that promote durable solutions for urban areas that are affected by large displacement flows. Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's great to see such an impressive turnout today. I'd like to start out by saying that on behalf of the Center for Resilience, we really appreciate the Resilience Links knowledge management platform. The monthly webinars and newsletters on the resilience themes are a great way to share knowledge and learn about the growing community of practitioners that are designing and implementing programs to strengthen resilience among households, communities, and systems. At USAID, we consider resilience the ability to mitigate, adapt to, and recover from shocks and stresses in a way that reduces chronic vulnerability and facilitates inclusive growth. This is reflected in the recently released Resilience Policy Update, which provides a roadmap for the agency's work over the next decade in helping people, communities, and countries protect and improve their well-being in the face of accelerating shocks and stresses. USAID's resilience policy underscores the importance of strengthening urban planning, market systems, and governance as sources of resilience. The idea here is that shocks and stresses are perennial features, not anomalies, in the complex risk environments where we work. Therefore, it's important for policymakers and practitioners at all levels to understand the risk context. This includes the key resources of resilience that can be invested in to promote local stakeholders' capacity to mitigate, adapt to, and recover from shocks and stresses. Today, we're excited to learn how USAID, IOM, World Bank, and others are partnering to promote innovative multi-sector programming that seeks to identify durable solutions to the displacement of vulnerable groups. These solutions aim to provide permanent solutions that go beyond temporary aid, ensuring that displaced individuals can rebuild their lives with dignity, security, and access to essential services. To learn more about this and other resilience programs, we invite you to visit resiliencelinks.org. There you will find this month's newsletter, which features durable solutions as a source of resilience. If you are part of a resilience initiative and would like to be featured, send an email to contact@resiliencelinks.org, and a member of the Resilience Links teams will guide you through the next steps. We're looking forward to today's discussion, and we appreciate the opportunity to learn about the growing body of evidence demonstrating that urban resilience programming is essential to achieving and maintaining well-being outcomes in the face of conflict, climate, COVID-like pandemics, and other significant shocks. Thank you all to all of our speakers and to everybody who helped make this webinar possible. And thanks again to you all for joining today. I'll now hand it over to Laura Benenson, Chief of Party of USAID's Scaling Solutions Initiative. Laura, over to you.
Apologies. Thanks so much, Michael. Hello and welcome again to today's webinar about resilience in rapidly expanding cities in Somalia that are affected by large displacement flows. We're really thrilled to have such a diverse and engaged audience joining us for this important discussion. And as we begin, I'm just going to make a few opening remarks just to frame the panel discussion that will come. Next slide, please, Sarah. So as we begin, it's really critical to acknowledge the rapid urbanization that's shaping our world. By 2050, it's projected that over 6 billion people will be living in urban areas, a trend which brings both opportunities and significant challenges. And one of these challenges is the growing number of internally displaced people and refugees seeking refuge in towns and cities. Today, approximately 3 out of 5 or 60% of the world's IDPs and refugees, which total about 65 million, reside in these urban environments. So our focus today, next slide, please, Sarah. Our focus today will be on the dual levels of resilience, structural and community. At the structural level, we'll explore the capacity of government institutions and systems within cities to anticipate, prepare for, respond, and recover from shocks and stresses effectively. And of course, one of the most significant shocks that these cities in Somalia are facing is these large displacement influxes. At the community and individual level, we'll discuss the ability of these urban residents to also prepare for, respond, and recover from these same challenges. And so on to the next slide, please, Sarah. Fantastic. Just to hone in a little bit on Somalia specifically, over 6 million people, over 45% of the country's population live in these urban areas. It's one of the most highly urbanizing countries in the world. The influx of forcibly displaced populations into these urban and peri-urban regions has placed immense pressure on urban systems to provide sustainable essential services. And this is especially critical because the majority of the 3.8 internally displaced persons in Somalia are in protracted displacement. So they have generally been displaced for a number of years. And according to our assessments, up to 90% of them seek to integrate locally. So they don't want to return back to their areas of origin, to their more rural areas. They want to build new sustainable lives for themselves for the future in these urban centres that they seek refuge in. So this webinar will share perspectives from key stakeholders of the Scaling Durable Solutions Programme, which is funded by the USAID Resilience Challenge Fund. So just on to the next slide, please, Sarah. Fantastic, thank you. So the Scaling Solutions Programme aims to address these critical challenges of displacement at scale. So individual successes have been possible in Somalia, but scale has been really difficult to achieve. And every year we see the numbers of IDPs increasing. So recognizing this challenge, the programme was intentionally designed to test innovative evidence-based pilots with a higher risk appetite to search for these breakthrough solutions that could potentially provide scalable solutions. The programme's key objectives include achieving higher social impact returns for these displacement affected communities on the investment of public and private resources, and critically improving the ways of working within the durable solutions community to really catalyse and leverage the resources of different multi-stakeholders that we see invested. The programme is closely linked to the Danadag Consortium, which was established in 2018 and is also led by IOM Somalia. The consortium is made up of like-minded organisations, both international and local NGOs. You can see their logos on the slide there, committed to addressing displacement-specific vulnerabilities and supporting sustainable solutions pathways for these urban displacement-affected communities in Somalia. And today we have an exciting lineup of panelists who will share their insights and strategies for building urban resilience in Somalia. And we encourage you all to engage actively, to ask questions, and really take advantage of the wealth of knowledge and experience that will be shared today. So we're delighted, as I said, to have these amazing speakers representing the local community, participants of the Scaling Solution Programme, local authorities and development agencies to discuss this topic. I will just introduce the panelists to you quickly before we hand over to our first speakers. So firstly, recognising the primary responsibility of the government in relation to solutions, we're really privileged to have with us here today some real solutions champions from the government in Somalia. We have Mayor Abdullahi Watin from the city of Baidoa, and we have Director Zainab Ahmed, the Durable Solutions Director from Benadir Regional Administration, or Mogadishu. Following that, we will have a pre-recorded video from Sado Osman Mohammed and Marian Osman Hassan, displacement-affected residents of Mogadishu and participants of our one of our flagship pilots, the Integrated Rental Solutions pilot in Mogadishu. And the last interventions from the panel discussion will come from Jacob Verwerker, Director of the Economic Growth Office with USAID Somalia, and Nandia Yuwano, Senior Urban Specialist from the World Bank and Team Leader for the Somalia Urban Resilience Programme. So following those panelists, it'll be over to you and the question and answer session. So please do make a note of your questions as we go or pop them into the chat. We're really looking forward to an engaging session. So I'll hand over now to our first panelists who will be responding to the following questions. So just the next slide, please, Sarah. Fantastic, thanks. Mayor Watin and Director Ahmed will be responding to these two questions. So what are the main challenges they face in building resilience in their cities, and how are they being addressed, and what do they feel are the development priorities for their cities? So Mayor Watin, perhaps I could come over to you first for your thoughts on the first question there. What do you think are the main challenges you face in building resilience in Baidoa?
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everybody in the meeting, and thank you for inviting me this important meeting on discussing on the resilience perspective in Somalia. In Baidoa, after the from 2016 up to the date, number of displacements from the Bayambokol up to Jubaland areas, Gedo, have been increasing to come to Baidoa, and from 2022 drought, the number has highly increased, and now hosting over 750,000 IDBs today living in Baidoa, who are also seeking to get a sustainable solution in their future. So historically, Baidoa was the hub for resilience in Somalia. It was also the breadbasket in Somalia, and it was also the food security hub in Somalia, where Somalia's economy was contributing. But after the Somali Civil War in 1991 until today, the city has faced many challenges, like a lot of displacement, recurrent droughts, and also the climate change. The city expansion have increased 6 times since 2016, and comparing to the historical resilience, traditional ways that these people have been using, and comparing to the modern days, that how resilience also is working in this area, and also what is the government perspective is in terms of the reaching sustainable solution for all this crisis. And in historically, most of the resiliences people have been living in the rural areas in Baidoa or in Somalia. And now, after the insecurity, after the cities, and to live in the urban cities, where the municipalities are facing a lot of challenges, such as urbanization, the city planning, creating of the city Islamics, and also lack of resources, sustainable resources. Like also, there is also the water scarcity is having also increasing. You can imagine that if one city grows 6 times in the original time, you know that how the city can also be facing. So everything is now becoming a scarcity. There have been a lot of efforts that have been made by the partners like the World Bank, the IOM, and also the UN Habitat and USAID that have been making some efforts to tackle all these situations. The municipality has been, we have prepared a city strategic a plan that is focusing on the how also we can create inclusive urbanizing, inclusive city planning in Baidoa. And the World Bank has also engaged the municipality of Baidoa 2016 and partnered with us, and also to reconstruct the economic infrastructures like the urban roads. And Barawa is also one of the key examples of the city extension plans, and also the Baidoa city strategy, also another advantage of Baidoa city, that to know that where we are going to. So in terms of the promoting inclusive resilience and sustainable development, Somalia is a very fragile from 1990s until today, for the last 35 years. So in terms of the promoting inclusive resilience and sustainable development, we in the conflict areas like Somalia will need improving living conditions and promoting good governance, and also strengthening the capacity of the institutions from the federal level to the up to the state level. So also the approach on the resilience perspective is in Somalia. The government has very clear vision when it comes to the implementing all this crisis. And I was asking myself, what is the current situation of Somali resilience perspectives, and how also the partners are building the shared vision of long-term resilience perspectives in the countries, like in the urban areas where all people are interested to come to the urban cities. And by 2050s, number of the people living in urban areas will also be increasing. So are also the partners investing a local economic capability, local capabilities like municipalities and the state level and the federal level. Good example I can take, like Somali Urban Resilience, a planning project supported by the World Bank. The project is not only building infrastructures, but also building local capacities and creating more sustainable environment in Baidoa. The other thing, also Baidoa city strategy can also be another way of that municipality is looking for to urbanize Baidoa city. And also Barwago city extension plans is also can also be good example for the Baidoa city extension plans, IDBs, to resettle in Barwago, to have access to land, housing, property in Baidoa, as they are seeking for to integrate the host communities. So, you know, the climate then is also becoming one of the key challenge nowadays in Somalia. People has no much idea about how the climate is now affecting in our life, is how the climate is now affecting the food security and also the infrastructures, the economy, the country's economy. Last year, Beidou has hit by floods that was devastated and damaged many economic infrastructures like the roads and the education sectors, health sectors, and also destroyed a lot of facilities in the city. The damage was very huge, and there was no prevention plans have been made, and people are very unconscious when it comes to the climate change. They have a lot of ideas about how it is very serious. So the climate has caused almost 26 people have been died in Beidou alone, and you can understand that how also in terms of the definition of the climate change, and also how it is also people can be more resilient when it comes to such shocks. So the municipality has been tackling with our own with the support of the World Bank. Like a good example was the World Bank, who has greatly contributed to the water flows. The drainage system has been contributed to the water flows to add to the dry river in Beidou. You can imagine that how a country that have half population are becoming IDBs in 30 years and seeking for a new life and seeking for access to have land, access to have housing, access to have other basic services. And you know that the country is very fragile, and there is no sustainable resources, there is no sufficient resources, there is no balancing between the development and also humanitarian. Humanitarian are investing more than maybe 80% than development, and people are still from hand to the mouth. So how do we build our long vision on sustainable solutions, sustainable resilience to the urban cities? So, and also at the municipal level, how also do we support? How also to support is to strengthening our mobilization is of our own revenue sources at the city level. At least we can respond to the communities at the forefront by using our own resource. I know that USAID has a long history in this area, Bay and Bokol regions, from 1975 until 1990s. They have been investing the water infrastructures, the agricultural infrastructures in Bay region, like Bay project from 1975 to 1990s, and all these infrastructures have been collapsed during the civil war. There is no agricultural extensionists. There is no environmental prevention mechanisms. How there is no also we know that the old aged people have already been died, who have knowledge with their own traditional systems in their ways of helping each other. Now the new generation is in Somalia now becoming are younger than like the 30 years old. 70% of the population is they have no knowledge about how agriculture working, how also livestock system is also work is, how also to do the preventive measures on the climate change. So all these are challenging. So I will advise to establish area-based approaches that focusing on the city level development is, like focusing on the infrastructures, the climate change, the food security, the waters. So this will also require a lot of resources that also need to be addressed. Just to implement the government objectives in urban cities. So we are looking forward. This discussion will be focusing on the more on resource mobilization is and also how also the community are also being very effectively respond all this climate shock is all this climate damages and so on. So we're looking forward and to discuss to continue our discussions. And thank you very much, Laura, and the team. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Wachain, for that amazingly comprehensive response. Fantastic to hear your perspectives on the challenges and opportunities as well in Baidoa. So Zainab, please allow me to come to you now for your perspectives on challenges in building resilience in Mogadishu, how you feel they're being addressed, and what would be your top development priorities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're joining this insightful discussion on perspectives on urban resilience in Somalia. I would like to first and foremost thank the organizers for this opportunity to speak today. As the Director of the Urban Solutions Unit for Benadi Regional Administration, I'm actively aware of the challenges Mogadishu faces in the pursuit of urban resilience. Internal displaced persons often move to Mogadishu in search of greater safety, access to basic services, and economic opportunities that are less available in the areas of origin, which may be affected by conflict, drought, and other climate-related crises. Currently, Mogadishu House is hosting, and in the wider region of Benadi, an estimated number of 1.6 million IDPs. So much to what Mayor Watin has described also is goes for Mogadishu. And Southwest remains to be the largest producer of internal displacement persons in Somalia, especially the ones hosted in Mogadishu. And the impact of climate and conflicts in this region are causing rapid displacement and urbanizations in Mogadishu in a more uncontrolled manner. So if I go straight to the challenges, as you're aware, Mogadishu still faces several significant challenges that undermine its urban resilience, including persistent security concerns. We all know what happened on the 2nd of August earlier this month, the massacre that took place in Little Beach, claiming the lives of several innocent people. So security is a very, security is a component that is undermining, and we are continuously in contention with addressing it in general, not only for the displacement communities, but also for the host community. Another challenge that is broadly faced in the Benadi region includes inadequate housing and limited access to essential services such as education, healthcare, clean water, and properly managed sewage systems. Some of this is addressed, and we can see progress in areas like the sewage systems, where we are having UNOPS leading effort to manage the sewage systems in Mogadishu. But mainly right now, they're concentrating on in the central core districts, but hopefully we see these efforts expand and scaled to the outer ring or peripheral districts that are hosting the largest number of IDPs. Additionally, the lack of economic security and sustainable livelihoods further exacerbates these issues. Addressing these issues is crucial for building a resilient and thriving Mogadishu for all of its population. One of the most pressing issues is the lack of adequate housing. Many residents, particularly those displaced by conflict, drought, live in overcrowded, unsafe conditions at the risk of evictions. In response to this, we have initiated a low-cost housing programs such as the Integrated Rental Solutions IRS program, supported by the USAID and implemented in collaboration with WDAC, NRC, Save the Children, and the municipality. This program identifies rental housing for internally displaced persons as a viable internal entry point for local integration. However, achieving affordable rental housing at a scale requires us to address broader underlying challenges that affect not only the low cost in housing, but Mogadishu's overall development. These challenges include operational costs, as I mentioned earlier. Security uh, remains to be the foremost important component that we are still dealing with. And the rule of law, also a crucial concern that directly impacts our ability to implement solutions effectively. The second challenge is housing, land, and property rights. Secure tenure and land access are foundational for any housing initiatives, yet they remain area of significant contention where there is not enough housing for the populations in Mogadishu, especially the ever-expanding the influx of displacement-affected communities. And when I talk about the housing and land, especially when it comes to low cost, I'm not only referring to the affordability of the tenants, but also the construction of this low cost housing. The third is economic security. Without stable livelihoods, the urban poor cannot sustain their housing or access essential services. Fourthly, access to basic services. Many areas lack essential infrastructure such as water, sanitation, and electricity, and this remains to be a challenge for its efficiency. And then finally, the lack of access to legal identity documents exacerbates vulnerabilities, particularly for displaced populations. So if I go right to addressing the challenges and priorities, in response to these challenges, the BRA is effectively working on solutions. A key initiative is the development of the Integrated Rental Solutions Program, also the eviction task force that we also partnering with NRC, where we are trying to legalize agreements between tenants as well as the landowners. This also aims to provide affordable, safe housing options for displaced populations. We believe this program, especially the IRS, is crucial in our efforts to build a more resilient Mogadishu that's scalable. We also recognize that addressing these challenges require collaboration. To this end, we're working closely with humanitarian and development agencies such as USAID, World Bank. By sharing resources and expertise, we can leverage each other's strengths and achieve our common goal. Finally, building resilience in Mogadishu requires multifaceted approach by addressing housing needs, improved infrastructure, and fostering collaborations. We can create a city that is better equipped to withstand future shocks. To ensure that seamless collaboration and achievements of durable solutions, the municipality is revising its durable solution strategy in an effort to harmonize the ongoing efforts in Mogadishu. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Director
Over to you,
Zainab.
Laura.
So thank you so much. Thank you, Zainab, for those compelling remarks, and thank you to both the panelists there for really emphasizing some of the commonality in terms of the challenges. Security came through particularly strongly, access to land, housing, economic security, food security and livelihoods, and particularly prominent as well in the mayor's response was this issue of climate change and how that is affecting urban areas in Somalia. So thank you, both of you. Now, the next panel response will actually be a pre-recorded video from two of our participants on the integrated rental solutions pilot that Director Zainab actually spoke to as well. So we're really delighted to be able to play just a short video for you now to hear from them firsthand their experiences. Thank you, Sarah.
صوت عثمان محمد وهاك صوبرك بورك كبا kusoo barakay marka buurka ku soo barakay siinka dheera imaade laba sano siinka dheer jooge waa ku soo barakay haanta dheera imaade 3 sano soo jooge ka bacdi waa ku soo barakay degmada daras baale haasanadka arintaas waxa uu sabab dalka dadka duurka leeyihiin inaan ugu dul gataan mise inaan ugu dul dhistaan baahida ugu weyn dadka barakayaasha ee qabaana ee guri iyo ayagii aruurtooda ee ka wada noolaan aniyo qoyskayga dhibaatadii hore waa ku soo baxnay guri kira aad deganahay biyo iyo koronto iyo mas'uul leedahay
magaalada muqdisho waxaa ka socda dhismayaashaas kuwa hadda dhammaaday kuwa hadda la bilaabayo dadka barakacyaasha oo ka mid ah aniga caruurtayda saameyn ballaaran inay nagu yeelatay waxaanu lagu dulgataa kaamamkii aan degnaynin markii xoogna lagu barkiciyo aan baxno waxaan ku qasbannahay inaan baxno meeshii bannaan aan buul ku dhisano aan degno markaan degno waxaa noo soo saa'idayo noo soo bilaabanayo cuno la'aan biyo la'aan musqul la'aan hooy la'aan intaas ayaa noo soo saa'idaysa qofka bini'aadankana wax walba noloshiisa waa u baahan tahay waxaan nasiib u yeelanay hay-adda ayna aarsii guriyaal inna dejiso aan ku hoyano sida dadka degan magaalada muqdisho
Thank you so much, Sarah, for playing that video, and hopefully that just gave you a little bit of an understanding of the challenges faced by displacement affected families in Somalia, and the opportunities to support them to invest in their potential to build better lives for them and their families in these urban areas. So the last panel session that we have for you today is representatives from two development actors. So we're very happy to be able to introduce you to Jacob Favaka, who is the Economic Growth Office Director for USAID Somalia, and also Nandia Yuwono, the Senior Urban Specialist at the World Bank and the team leader for the Somalia Urban Resilience Programme that Mayor Wutin also spoke to in his remarks. So we have two questions for them to respond to today. The first one is around the criticality of urban resilience. So why urban resilience is such a critical area of focus in Somalia, and how is that linked to displacement? And if I could come to you first, Jacob, for your response to that. Thank you.
Well, hello.
Hi, Jacob. Sorry, I think we lost you. Are you still there?
Pointed out in Laura's presentation earlier, noting that the high rate of rapid urbanization from the rural into the urban areas, the kind of the flood of the displacement, a lot of this coming due to conflict, as well as due to climate change. And it's not only that this urbanization is happening right now, it is something that we'll probably also foresee into the long-term future. So it's not just a current problem, it's going to be a continued challenge within Somalia, because we see these climate shocks will persist and will really hit hard a lot of the subsistence population in the livestock and agricultural sectors. Also, there's an extremely high growth rate of the population generally. So even if there weren't these shocks, you have a natural need for people to move and to go on to other places because there is not enough livelihood opportunities in a lot of the rural areas where these populations are currently living. And then as in a future where we hopefully will be raising the productivity of the agricultural sector and of the quality of livelihoods in Somalia in the long run, you would also expect to see kind of a continued less labor needed in the rural areas. And where would that go? A lot of that would come into the cities to work on value addition within a lot of these same productive value chains and work in other sectors in the long run. And not just even that. So, I mean, so one is that we have this challenge of urbanization and moving into the cities. The second is in a lot of ways, this is an extremely rational, resilience-based decision for a lot of the populations are there. When I found, I always want to bring this up because I found this to be an absolutely fascinating study provided by the Damadag Consortium and BRICS through the Scaling Solutions Project. And it was looking at how a lot of times the urbanization is a livelihood strategy. It's a diversification of livelihoods within a larger kind of extended family group. And so there's a lot of reasoning and rationale going behind this, and there's a lot of times a strong intent to stay in these locations and make a new livelihood and use that as part of a larger picture to help them improve the resilience of their larger family group. Additionally, I mean, we see the desire to have access to a lot of the basic services, access to humanitarian assistance, and then we just have generally this global trend of urbanization more generally. One of the challenges in coming into this space, and this is where we really appreciate a lot of the effort being undertaken by the Scaling the Durable Solutions project and the Damadag Consortium and IOM, is this we're dealing with an extremely complex problem in how to provide this resilience in these urban areas. We have multiple livelihood opportunities. We have incredible influx of population, and with all the interaction of all the confluence of all of the different factors that affects the resources of resilience and the stressors on people's individual lives, the risk needs to be taken to understand what will actually work in these scenarios. And so one of the things that we're really looking to this project to achieve, and I think they're doing very well and moving this along very markedly, is we're looking at a number of these areas, trying to see how can we find what these solutions are that will actually, we can scale up rapidly and will work in these complex settings, such as these urban areas in Somalia. And I'll stop there.
Thanks so much for your thoughts on that, Jacob. And now over to you, Nandia. Could I ask for your perspectives on the same question? Thank you.
Hi everyone, and thanks Laura for the question. So I think we already heard from Mayor Watin, from Zainab, and also from Jacob on their perspective, and I also agree with them that actually cities are always the engine of growth, and this is also globally, right? Not just in Somalia. The cities are drivers of economic development, job creation, and poverty reduction. That's why we focus from the bank side, we really focus on the cities and working with the cities because first they're the ones that are closest to the communities. They really know what are the needs in their city, at the city level. And this is important. So I think why we're working on urban resilience in Somalia cities is because we believe that there's a future there in our Somalia cities. There are many challenges, right? But in the absence of the state, Somalia has already constructed this ad hoc hybrid governance system. And actually the cities, like Baidoa itself, despite of having its challenges on urban resilience, they also have a bigger plan for their city to be more resilient and also to be more sustainable not always depending on humanitarian. That's something that Mayor Watin touched also today. So going back to the question that you raised, focusing also on the displacement, on the IDPs. Each city actually is a bit unique in the case of Somalia cities. For example, in Baidoa compared to Garowe, let's say, we see that actually urbanization in Garowe, we can see that it's a bit challenging, that it's going into the flood-prone areas. So this is why under our urban resilience project, we're also focusing on how we can also help the cities in terms of providing urban resilience in infrastructure. And it's a bit different when we go to Baidoa, because how the role of IDP inflows is shaping the urban development in Baidoa, as Mayor Watin was saying, that they are more now towards integrated to the host communities. And this is also because of the role of the municipal government itself, right? So this is why I think on the development side, where we're focusing under the World Bank project, especially on the urban resilience project, we started small with the cities. We want to make sure that we understand that despite the urban development master plan, we can start somewhere where the communities, the city can see the results as a quick wins that is much needed by the community. We started with roads and street lights, as Mayor Watin also mentioned here. But then in the long term, we need to start thinking, not just within our project, but beyond our project, and also with other development partners, how to make cities more competitive, more sustainable in the long run, not only dependent on the bank or other development partners or only on humanitarian aid. In this case, the capacity building for the municipal government is very important, right? We start there. We also work with the UN agencies to make sure that we work together on how to capacitate the cities. But then for sustainability, there needs to be a vision from the city itself, how to also work together first with not just with the development partner, but also with the private sector, but also with the FMS, but also with the FGS in this case, right? It's not an easy task to do, but we are gradually moving towards that, because natural disasters and any other shocks come and go in Somalia cities. In the first 3 years of our project since 2019, the cities keeps getting hit by drought. So we supported them through IOM, through our drought response. And then COVID happened. And then now flood, as Mayor Watin mentioned. Back into 2023, October, is one of the biggest event, maybe 1 in 100 years event, flood in most of our cities in Somalia. Are they resilient enough to respond to these shocks? And that's the question mark that we want to work together with the mayors, with the city government, in this case also with BRA and with the FGS. How can we together make sure that we're now moving towards more development, towards more resilient urban investments in our Somalia cities, and then actually helping them to get there so that in the future they can also manage their cities. Right, so this is something that drives us and that keeps us working in the urban resilience areas in Somalia. So I'll stop here and then go back to Laura. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nandia, for those perspectives. Okay, back to you, Jacob, if I may. How do you see the role of humanitarian and development actors in addressing those critical areas around urban resilience and the links between displacement? What do you see as the role that humanitarian and development actors can play? Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Laura. Looking at, I think, so when I look at the kind of the different roles that humanitarian development actors play kind of in achieving urban resilience, first off, I do think they have a strong role to play. I think there needs to be careful balance. I think this truly came out in Mayor Watin's comments of of how much is going more towards the humanitarian side, providing that lifeline as these displaced people come in, because often they are coming in the midst of a shock. They're in an extremely tough situation. There are basic needs that need to be met to provide kind of a foundation for them. But in the longer run, and as Nandia was kind of referring to, a lot of these longer term systems effects, especially in these urban areas where so much of these shocks and stressors can be limited in the future through good urban design and planning. I'm sure Nandia will probably go into that in more detail, as well as just the need to create livelihoods that can provide at least a cash flow, an opportunity, because a number of these, as they come in from the rural areas to the urban, they're coming from a very subsistence, a lot of them from a very subsistence background to an entirely kind of livelihood market kind of systems style economy. And that can be quite an abrupt change. And being that this is happening so rapidly and so abruptly, a lot of the systems that really need to be stood up to provide a lot of those jobs and opportunities in urban areas that currently are not existing if we want these people to truly be resilient. And seeing that we're short on time, I'll stop there.
Thanks so much for that, Jacob. Okay, Nandia, let's come to you again and your response to the role of humanitarian and development actors, please.
Yeah, I think Jacob has mentioned a few key points there. And actually, from our side, from the World Bank side, we're more focusing on development. Although, as I mentioned earlier, we did work together with IOM on the drought response, which is more on a humanitarian side. But again, on the role of development actors, now we need to also make sure that we're focusing on the longer term, on the sustainability of what we can do in developing our cities in Somalia. So in this case, humanitarian aid from donors will be there, but the question there is there any access to our cities? Is there any access to the end of the beneficiaries, as in the communities? So this is where the development partners comes in, right? We build the road, we build access towards airport, and then we make sure that there's drainage, there is a drainage are fixed, not clogged, and then the sewerage system, we need to work with Mogadishu on that. But these are, I think, how we can work together as development partners and the humanitarian and the donors, right? Because one can provide humanitarian aid, but if there's no access towards getting through the end beneficiary, then it's also a challenge. So in that sense, the resilient infrastructure is needed by our cities because they still need this support, this humanitarian aid. But if there's still no access to the closest cities, to the market, to the airport, that's also a challenge for the cities to receive humanitarian aid and other support from the donors and from the development partners. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nandia. Okay, so that concludes the remarks from our panelists. So I am going to come over now to the audience to hear from the speakers some of the questions that you have posed in the chats there. So I can see that there's already a lot of really interesting, insightful questions and comments. So thank you so much for those, and please do keep them coming. Perhaps the first question could come to Mayor Watin and Director Zainab, which is on private sector engagement, infrastructure, investments, and also engagement with local communities. So we heard this coming through as a kind of recurrent theme across all of the panelists' responses. But perhaps you could touch a little bit on the engagement with local communities, on the infrastructure investments that are needed, and also critically about the role of the private sector, which hasn't perhaps come through as strongly yet. So Mayor Watin, could I come to you for your thoughts on those aspects first? Thank you.
Thank you. For the private sector, the Beira municipality, we have made a very good engagement with the local commercial bankers that are working in Baidoa, and essentially the way Beira municipality is now dealing with the private sectors is very tremendous, according to how they're also contributing to the local economic development in Baidoa. How also they are also contributing together with the Baidoa municipality access IDBs to have access to the loans, small loans from the commercial bank. How also Baidoa municipality is also now facilitating documentation of the IDBs or other small medium enterprises who are willing to have access a loan to the private from the private companies, private sectors in Baidoa. We provide like title, we provide like title deeds, we provide like birth certificates, and also other key documents that include the requirement that private sectors to have from those communities who wish to access in their loan small loan systems in Baidoa. So recently, we have also engaged the private sectors to contribute the ongoing infrastructures, which is now a good example for the Brogo market, which is now contributed by the 60% of the funding by the private sector in Baidoa. And we have now also working with the Baidoa Electric Company, with the Baidoa municipality, and also how also Brogo to be electrification is an IOM, Merscopis, Bar Africa are part of these initiatives. So municipality have developed a concept note that was focusing on although we have provided this 15 kilometer square land in Brogo side, IDBs have been relocated 3,159, and how also they can get access to the energy. How also we can eliminate energy poverty in the areas, which can contribute a long-term resilience of the energy resilience in the Borogo side. And now, thanks to the UK FCDO for the contribution of the funding of this project, and we're looking, in Baidoa can be one of the key examples when it comes to the private sector engagement in our area. For the community engagement, whatever we are doing in Baidoa is now based on the consultations with the communities, IDBs, refugee returnees, and the host communities and the government stakeholders. We have prepared a long time ago during the NEMO project 2016. IOM Habitat were part of that, and which now we have developed integrated community action plan, which is now focusing on what do they want to achieve. People, they usually know what they want. If you are an IDB, you are facing challenges, but at least what you want to achieve in the future. So they are part of the contributors in this integrated community action plan. Like when was the World Bank project, or they have also been picked from that as per the community action plan listed. List of the development projects and like housing, healthy, everything. And thank you for the rest of the ministry that have been also supporting this integrated action plan from 2016, which was leading in the UN Habitat at that time, and until today is a living document that's now communities rely on. And also we have recently we have not yet been still activated, but we are working on the community engagement platform at the city level, municipality level, which is now community. It is like a website that a community can also provide the information and the question the comment that they require. In our municipal level, we also do budget preparatory plans that also able to see how the municipalities now also is investing what we are gaining from the access at the local level. So thank you very much. Over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Mayor Wittin. Zainab, perhaps I could hear from you briefly on the same aspects. How is the municipality collaborating with private sector actors, and how are the local authorities involved in the planning processes?
Thank you, Laura, for the question from the audience. It's really nice to see that people are very invested and interested in this area, because we always wanted to have more awareness and more stakeholders very involved in this. And when it comes to the challenges, I think that you have mentioned I think that the question is the challenges and how we are facing as a municipality. We have, first and foremost, we have established a durable solutions unit under the leadership of the governor and the coordination mechanism that responds to the needs of IDPs in the city. As you can imagine, addressing the needs of 1.6 million people with the limited funding and resources remains as a challenge. Nevertheless, we have established a highly successful eviction task force, which has been helping, as I think I mentioned also earlier in my past response, that they are assisting the settlements and the landowners by building a breach and notarized agreements for them. I think this has been seen, that has led to the reduction of forced evictions. And of course, we have achieved so many interventions where we not only prevented, but also intervened by creating mediation points between the landowners and the town managers, especially. And this, it will also protect the infrastructures that are put in place, wash infrastructures, whether it is educational institutions in the cross vicinity or health institutions that are being assisting in this, that has been providing assistance to the mother and child who are the most vulnerable ones. And also we are using Mogadishu as a template to have developed the national guidelines on forced evictions with the support of the NRC and the UN. And we have seen that even within very long protracted, the displacement affected communities that are in a protracted state now they cannot be evicted without like the 3 months guidelines. And this has been, we have seen it in the city recently where we had evictions where the public land was needed to use for public use for the city's fire station, where the people were resettled with the leadership of the government. Also, we are with the support of the IOM, especially the NWRAG in this area, and the USAID, we are piloting rental and piloting the IRS, which I mentioned earlier, integrated rental solutions as an entry point for low-cost housing and IDPs. And if I talk about in this sequencing and layering of this program, that we have had so many opportunities to learn a lot from, such as like the beneficiaries we were selecting, and we were together with NRC and working with them closely at the selection stages, at the refining of the profiling of the beneficiaries. And what we have learned from it is like when it comes to selection, it was stipulated that the beneficiaries should be like in a protected state from 1 year to 2 years. This we have seen that in the scale up steps that we can benefit by maybe lengthening the protected state so that we can have ease of integration of the society, because we have noticed that the ones who have stayed in a protected state for 10 years and expressed explicitly that they have no intention of returning, that they are in a better position of integrating and have already formed their own social networks within the city. So also, as Nadia mentioned, the World Bank is supporting the development of infrastructure. I think also they are leading with especially the sewage system in Mogadishu, which has already and the drainage system, especially with where we see like every time it rains that it is destroying the recently constructed roads, to fundamentally address these issues at a very fundamental level. Also, which is a key to creating accessibility to basic services and employment and the low cost of housing, especially because we know that most of the displacement of communities settled in the 3 outer periphery districts of the city, that's Kahda, Dainila, and Ras Valley. Also, the supporting the local government is paramount. We believe that also supporting the local government is paramount in successfully addressing this displacement, because the government has can and is already been encouraging, and we're already in talks with the private sector, who has expressed there's like the deficit of labor, availability of labor at certain sectors that are interested in, especially with this livelihood component that we are attaching to the IRS program. And they are more interested because sometimes they are importing skills from very basic skills that we could easily equip with the displacement communities, and also their host communities could fill the gaps being reported from neighboring countries, especially in the hospitality sector. I'm sure if you have visited Halane or Mogadishu, you've seen a lot of that. So I think that the private sector is clearly interested, and the government is capitalizing on this interest in.
Thanks so much, Zainab. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have so many fantastic questions here. I just want to give us the opportunity to answer some more of them, but thank you so much. That was a really very comprehensive response, and I really appreciated also the aspects you touched on in terms of social capital, social connectedness, but also the spatial marginalization that we see when these displaced populations come into the cities, that they tend to be, spatially marginalized on the outskirts with very limited access to land and to basic services, which also has a significant impact then on urban planning and development. So just linked to that as well, there's another interesting question that's come in that I'd like to direct towards Jacob and Nandia, which is, how do you ensure that promoting urban resilience does not become a pull factor for displacements and rapid urbanization? And how do we strike the balance? So perhaps I could come to you first, Jacob, for your response to that.
Sure, and that is a very good and very tricky question. My initial thoughts on this is that it's going to be very, very hard to not have the urban areas be a pull factor. If the urban areas are prospering, there will be a pull factor pulling people into the cities. And this is one of the reasons why urbanization drives everywhere. But I think where we structure that balance is what is causing that pull factor? Is that pull factor because that's where we distribute our humanitarian assistance? Is that pull factor because of subsidies that we are offering there? Or is that pull factor because we've worked on the structural systems within the city that have made it a desirable place to live, made it that there are jobs available for the population and whatnot? And so I think really what it needs to be is, are they coming for access to our programming, or are they coming for access to the impacts that our program maybe have had long term? And I hope that's clear, that differentiation between the two. But I do not think it's possible to not have the urban areas be a pull factor if we are successful. A lot of times I don't think we even have to be successful to make them have a strong pull factor. That's all I have.
Thanks, Jacob. Over to you, Nandia.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, so it's going back to my initial comment earlier. This is why it's important to make the regional development in this case, not just the urban center, but also cities or towns connecting to the urban areas, right? So one of the reasons, in addition to what Jacob already mentioned, is of course livelihood and jobs, right? So that's where the opportunities are. If managed properly, we can actually gain opportunities from urbanization. But then we need to also make sure that when we started the project, yes, we started with our big cities in the urban areas, but again, going towards the competitive and sustainable cities, it's just beyond the urban areas itself. It's creating access, market access, and also road access for humanitarian aid beyond the city boundaries itself, right? To the closest cities, and then smaller cities, and then to the town areas. So this is what we're trying to work with not just the mayors, but in this case, we're trying to now reach out also to the FMS. So beyond by Doha City itself, now, for example, Mayor Watin gave us an example on the electricity that they started in Barwaco, right? That's just one example. But then with other cities, we also try to make sure that they're also talking with the FMS, because it's not just about its city itself. There's periphery city, there's small towns. There are smaller cities that leads to these towns in the rural area, which have or may not have access at all right now. So when they when they move to the cities, they don't want to move back to their areas because there's no hospital, there's no schools there. So that's why I think the development of urban areas, and also beyond that, the linkage between urban and rural. In this case, maybe the definition is a bit gray in Somalia cities. Maybe we can say that between the big cities, smaller cities, and towns, the connectivity is very important as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nandia. Okay, I think we have time for just one last question, but we could probably keep the responses quite brief if that's okay. And there's been a lot of questions around best practices on HLP and livelihoods. Perhaps I could just ask you super briefly, each of the panelists, to just in a sentence or two describe the most inspiring or the best example you've seen on either HLP, housing, land and property, or livelihoods that you think we should be investing in moving forwards. So perhaps, Jacob, I can come to you first on that. What's your most inspiring example?
Oh, I was hoping I wasn't going to go first on this one. I think, well, what I look to is I look through some of the process, that the way this the rental program that's being put out underneath of our Scaling Durable Solutions project, and how that's evolved over time, and how it's become much more of a platform for seeing that the members are determining where they want to go. They're making it a lot of work. We're offering kind of the bare basin and the rules, and we're going to them saying, hey, how do you want this to work? And then we will help you achieve that within the limits that we've set ahead of time, and making that very clear and transparent. But giving them a lot of agency in this so that we can get the best result, I think it is a very good example of how this works.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Jacob. Zainab, last inspiring example from you, please. Just a couple of sentences.
Can you see
Okay,
me?
maybe.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah, on this, I think I have to
Yes.
agree with Jacob on this, because it's really interesting to see that giving the opportunity to the beneficiaries themselves to determine where they want to be. Because especially, I think with IRS, the rental graduation solutions, this gives the beneficiaries directly to decide where they want to relocate or to build their new social networks, and this will give them an opportunity to effectively succeed. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Zainab. Mayor Whitting, you have your hand up, please.
Thank you for the development perspective. For example, we can take good example for the World Bank project, which is now has been established a very good system based on the do no harm policy in urban cities, and the municipalities and the bank, they make sure that everything should be balanced and directly something that can bring an impact to the social life, and cannot also
Great.
be harm anything to the social life. So it is creating.
so much.
Now we can see a lot of examples that the positive examples that is already in place. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Mayor Whitting. And Nandia, any last quick remarks from you before we wrap up?
Thank you. Yes, just very quickly, every country is unique, but in Somalia, I can see that we can start with our cities, our big cities, Baidoa, Mogadishu, Garowe, Kismayo, Beledweyne, and Dushamarab. Let's start from there. Those are the pilot, the best practices that we can see in Somalia, and that can be replicated within the country itself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nadia. And unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. So it only remains to say thank you to you all for joining us and for all the interesting and insightful comments. We will capture them all. We will go through and compile responses, particularly those for the two participants, for Sodio and also for Marian. We will make sure that they get the questions that you ask them, and we will compile responses and share them with you as well. But yeah, huge thank you to all of our speakers for sharing their expertise, and of course Resilience Links for coordinating today's webinar to continue exploring today's topic, which we hope you will. We hope you're all inspired. You can visit resiliencelinks.org or follow them on LinkedIn or Twitter, and please do keep an eye out for that email after this webinar with the recording and those additional resources, which we hope that you will share with your friends and colleagues. Thank you so much, and I wish you a wonderful day.